Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, we're going to be talking about a secret mission that I don't think anyone has played yet. So when I heard about this, I was very intrigued, and it actually comes straight from the mouth of Micah Bell's voice actor, Peter Bloomquist. A couple of months ago, he actually did an interview at a conference. I believe it was in Kuwait. And this footage, which I'm about to show you guys, was uploaded by a user PlayStation Middle East. Apparently they were there at the conference in Kuwait and had the opportunity to interview not only Peter Bloomquist, but also Arthur Morgan's voice actor and motion capture artist Roger Clark. Same with Dutch Vanderland, John Marston, and their respective voice actors and motion capture artists. If you're interested in checking out the entire video, which it's really cool because you get to hear what it's like to be Arthur Morgan, to be John Marston, and they answer a couple of other questions. Again, I'll leave a link to that full video in the description. For today's video, we're going to be specifically focusing on one thing that Peter Bloomquist said, and it was a secret mission that apparently takes place in Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, before we talk about any more of this mission, let me just show you guys this footage in this clip right here, and then we'll get back to it.
Is there any line that comes up with your mind from the game?
A line?
Yeah.
A line that resonates with me, you mean?
Yeah. Or a scene, maybe.
A scene? Well, of course, it's hard to say anything without, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
Of course, if a lot of people have already played the game.
Yeah.
I particularly like the scene where Dutch, played by Ben, Dutch and I sort of have this lovely little slow dance together. It's one of the sort of side missions that is very hard to come across.
Really?
Yeah, but you end up in the middle of the woods. I don't know if it's in the Grizzlies or whatever, but you see Dutch, and Arthur sees Dutch, and he's with someone.
Yeah.
And it's Micah.
Okay.
And they're slow dancing together, and the snow is falling, and it's beautiful. And in Arthur's mind, there's this sort of lovely music that's playing. And then, everything kind of turns into this big gunfight, and you kind of forget about it. But it's one of my favorites.
What you have said will be like a massive hit in the internet.
Yeah.
Everyone will search for how Dutch and Micah will dancing.
It's there.
The
I'm not
snow.
kidding you. It's definitely there, I think.
You think? Yeah.
It's not there.
What? I don't know.
Maybe.
Could be there.
Let the gamers search for it.
It may just be something that runs through my head all the time,
maybe,
but I don't
maybe
know.
It's like a cut from the game.
Yeah, it may have been cut.
Yeah, maybe. We don't know. Maybe.
I remember it fondly, though.
All right, so how interesting does that sound? A quick recap. We have Peter Bloomquist basically explaining that there is a mission in Red Dead Redemption 2, his favorite mission, that involves Micah and Dutch slow dancing in the snow, and then we see Arthur Morgan find them, and then like a shootout commences. And then the camera sort of breaks to Benjamin Davis, who actually kind of like shakes his head and says it's not in the game or something like that. So let's talk about the three potential scenarios we have with this. The first scenario is that Peter Bloomquist was just making this up. Maybe he didn't have a favorite mission, or maybe he was on the spot and just decided to make something up, and he came up with something so wacky and so crazy that it would just be perceived as, no one would believe it, or it really wasn't in the game. It's kind of tough to put ourselves in his shoes. We don't know if the interviewer, the guy that you saw on the other side of the couch asking Peter the questions, gave the questions ahead of time so they had a chance to prepare, or if he sort of gave them to him on the spot. And if that is the case, there is obviously a chance that he would just make something like that up so that he didn't sound like he had no idea what he's talking about. So that's the first theory, is that this mission that he just described does not exist, and it's not in the game. And that would be a perfect explanation as to why we likely don't see something like this in Red Dead Redemption 2. The second theory I have is that this was cut from the game. Now, Rockstar and like the higher ups in that company themselves have confirmed that over 5 hours of content have been cut from Red Dead Redemption 2. That is a lot. Like, on the surface level, when you think of 5 hours, you're like, well, that's like a fifth of a day for the most part. That's not really all that long until you dive into it a little bit more. Imagine playing 5 straight hours of Red Dead Redemption 2 and all the quests and side missions that you could do, all the horses that you could capture, the new weapons that you could customize. I mean, you give a gamer 5 hours in Red Dead Redemption 2, they could go from chapters 2 to 5, almost even to the end of the game if they really focused and prioritized the main missions. So my second theory is that maybe this was a mission that was just cut from the game. At some point during the development cycle of Red Dead Redemption 2, Rockstar felt that this mission just simply didn't belong. And I could understand why, and let's talk about that for a bit. So I feel like there's only 2 times in the entire game, at least that we've seen, where something like this would be possible. And this would be in Chapter 1 when the gang is at Coulter, and in Epilogue Part 2 when Dutch sort of meets Micah at his hideout at the very end of the game. But I think that neither of these 2 chapters really present a good time for this mission to occur, because it sounds like a very silly, fun, almost side quest-esque mission. It doesn't have that like main mission feel. And Chapter 1 doesn't seem as if the time in which Dutch and Micah would be taking the time to slow dance. If you think about it, this is days after the Blackwater massacre where, a ton of people were killed. The gang was on the run. They're starving. They're tired. They're freezing. It just doesn't seem like the time for something like that. And you spend so little time in Chapter 1 in the snow and the mountains that basically all the missions you do up there are main missions. In fact, there isn't a single stranger or side quest mission that you can start while you're in Chapter 1. So that would be a little bit strange. And then as far as in the Epilogue Part 2, that also seems like a very serious time. It's after the breakup of the gang in Chapter 6. Dutch is ultimately going to Micah's hideout to kill him and to basically get revenge. Why would they do something as silly as slow dancing then? And, I mean, obviously we're talking about spoilers. Arthur is not alive in Epilogue Part 2, so how would he come across a side mission like that? It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So I'm not sure how it would have fit in either of those 2 chapters. Maybe part of those 5 hours of cut content had more to do with Chapter 1, in which case maybe we saw the gang in better spirits and could experience something like that. I'm not too sure. And the third, and this is the most unlikely scenario in my opinion, that there is some way to trigger this mission and it is just a complete secret. So I have the official strategy guide. I've looked up all the missions. This one doesn't exist. So unless there is some like secret formula, secret code, secret sequence that you have to accomplish in order to get this mission to show up, I'm not too sure. I haven't seen any evidence of it online, on forums, on YouTube. So it's a theory, but I definitely think it's one that's a little far-fetched. Now, could we see this mission going forward in the future, if indeed it is real? The answer is potentially, but it would have to be in the form of a single-player expansion, if Rockstar decides to do that. And if they do decide to do that, how would this mission even fit in? I think the most likely single-player expansion would either be before we start the game in Coulter in Chapter 1, where we sort of see the gang's life in Blackwater, and even before that. I feel like there's a lot of interesting stories there. Or it's going to follow one of the characters like Charles Smith or Sadie Adler and their time after Epilogue Part 2, where it might not even involve Micah Bell at all. So I think that we might never see this mission come to light if indeed it is real. And if it is in the game, I don't think a single person has gotten to experience it. But as always, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about this potentially interesting side mission that involves Micah, Dutch, and Arthur and dancing in the snow. Again, let me know your thoughts, opinions, and more in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.